This episode of the Damage Guild podcast is sponsored by listeners like you. Join the guild at patreon.com/damageguild to receive exclusive perks, member rewards, and bonus content.
Last time on the Damage Guild podcast.
I duck behind a tree and say, Era, Stoke, we may have found him. We're staking out the old water mill. We need proof.
You see the door open, and he makes his way through town in a rather roundabout way, and he eventually does stop in front of a small house. The door opens up, and he goes inside. You can hear voices speaking quietly, discussions about readying supplies, have to be ready to move down south, something about when the others will show up. You think there's 8 to 10 people, and then you rush off into the night.
Oh, you don't want to try to bust in to the other building?
No, there's 8 to 10 people.
No, the other building, the building he left.
To the watermill?
No, especially if they're leaving, then he might be going directly back there.
Oh, so you don't think you have enough time to...
Yeah, I don't want to, get in his path and have him be walking back while, we're in front of him. So we go back to the arms, and I have Arath and Stoke come into my room, and we, take off our cloaks.
Have a slumber party.
Yep, and the plan's formulating, and I'm pacing back and forth across the room and explaining myself to them, and I'm saying, I think we're going to need some help on this. Perhaps we could employ our new friends to give us some aid. What do you think? Grandfather said we weren't supposed to tell anyone, but I fear we have no choice at this point. Things have moved much quicker than I anticipated. Can Kardain and Zara be trusted?
Arath says, I'm hesitant to trust them. It's true that you've journeyed with them for some time, relatively speaking, but we still know so little about them.
You're right. Of course you're right.
Perhaps we could relay this information back to your grandfather? No, you're right, he wanted proof. This is likely, but doesn't fall into that category yet.
Circumstantial at best.
Yes, we cannot take action until we're certain of what's going on. This is very problematic indeed. But you're right, we should write to Grandfather again. Give him an update.
The thought crosses Verrol's mind, perhaps. What if we could test Zara and Kardain?
Does the thought cross his mind?
Yes. Are you telling me what thought crosses my mind?
No. Does the thought cross your mind?
You're not supposed to be planting thoughts.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Only game masters have that power.
Stoke, in contrast, says, I think we can probably trust them. They seem like they're honest folk, at least. Although, to be blunt, Zara's connections might be more of a disadvantage to us than a help.
I agree.
Kardain doesn't have anyone who he could tell, so maybe we could trust him more.
That's true. No one listens to him anyway. Good point. He is an outsider from the town. He only has that one friend, that old hermit. Perhaps even if he began spouting off, no one would believe him anyway. Well, something to think about.
The British are coming.
Yes, I'll need to sleep on it. I'll need to consider every possible option before we make any moves. But yes, in the meantime, Arath, draft up a quick letter to Grandfather and have it sent securely, if you would. Find a courier who can be trusted to deliver it post-haste.
Your grandfather's courier should be arriving tomorrow. I should be able to send it back directly.
Ah, yes. Very good. Well, men, get some sleep if you can, and we shall look for word.
Stoke gives a big stretch, looking forward to finally getting an actual night's rest.
Well, you've earned it. Stoke, have yourself an extra ale tomorrow night.
Maybe I could use it tonight, but no. All right.
Whatever strikes your fancy. Well, good night, gentlemen.
Good night. The following day, the courier finally arrives with a letter for Verrol bearing the Van Jecht House seal.
I do so look forward to Grandfather's letters.
Do you do you do the shakedown with the letter and see if it has any money in it?
I see if he sent his customary glitter bomb and just open it very carefully just to make sure.
Is he a bit of a prankster?
Oh yeah,
Lord Grandfather?
That old grandpa of mine. Always pulling pranks.
I believe I've shown you the letter here?
Yes. All right. Letter number 2 from Josco Van Jecht. Let me see if I can read it in his voice.
Yeah, you got to do it in his voice, yeah.
Yeah. Verrol, it seems you are becoming distracted from your mission. You never showed much interest in the Wardens before. What happened to change your mind? Still, it sounds as though this is a threat to the valley that bears investigation. I do not wish to lose you to the dangers of the mountain. You are my last hope to carry on the Vanjak line, but if you insist on dealing with this yourself, then I will not forbid it. Such bold actions will serve you well in earning the hearts of the people, provided you return safe and sound. I ask only that you first deal with your primary task, or else determine that it is no longer possible to do so. Write again once your course is set, and do not tarry over long. Either make yourself useful in that corner of the valley, or return home. Lord Josko Vanjakt. Well, it seems we've been given permission. However, new events have changed things somewhat, so it seems we're at odds. Either I leave behind what is a growing threat, or I take care of it, with some difficulty perhaps. Much to consider. Well, in any case, I suppose I ought to deliver the news to my companions, and so I will take, I guess, to go to the Ebenvale estate this time, we'll take Stoke and leave Arath to his own, and we will go and visit our friends.
So you find them hard at work with their respective duties?
Is Kardain
Kardain
doing calisthenics on the grounds?
Actually, Verrol, you know, I felt like the gardens of the estate could use a makeover. And you see, like I've got the shears and I'm trying to like cut one of the bushes into shapes.
I could see you like micromanaging the actual gardener, like hovering over his shoulder. Oh, nope, you don't want to do that. No, that's all wrong. No, let me show you how it's done.
That's not a weed. That's a feature.
Yeah, we're just exchanging some of our gardening techniques and
tips.
Yeah, tips and tricks, and I'm using a little bit of my magic to kind of speed things along, you know.
You know, if Bron poops on a new bud when it's just coming out of the ground, it'll grow twice as strong and twice as tall.
His little poops are really precious. I saved them in this jar. They're like little rabbit poops is what I'm imagining.
Giant jar.
Yeah, just little fertilizer, and he just traipses through the garden, just spreading them out like birdseed, just like...
Poop is a really good fertilizer.
Indeed.
When Kardain's around, anything's on the table.
He's a plant.
Yeah, he probably doesn't have little pellets and poops. That's true. This is all headcanon. We'll leave it at that. But yeah. So I've made myself useful, Verrol. Why would you assume that I would be lying around?
Oh, not at all. Calisthenics are a good way to get the blood flowing in the morning.
Well, I have been, that's true, I have been doing a lot of physical labor because I'm having trouble carrying my new shield.
I can see that. Wow, what a monstrosity that is.
I know.
Where did you come by that?
Oh, well, I mean, it's kind of a Grove Tender secret, but we can grow things. This shield was grown, Verrol.
My.
I can't say much more about it. I actually don't know myself what the recipe was or anything.
Are you saying you can grow anything? Can you grow, for instance, a sense of hygiene? Or decorum? Or manners, perhaps?
Or tact, even?
You know, Verrol, I'm learning so much just through cultural immersion.
Ah, I see.
That's what we like to call it.
Yes.
You know, like when the gardener scratches his back, I do the same.
One's mind does grow under such circumstances, of course.
Yes.
Is Mistress Zara available?
Kardain, your shield, it's fantastic, isn't it?
You're there. Sorry, you're there.
Oh, yes, here I am.
Okay. Oh, hello.
I just came out of the house, I suppose. I saw you speaking in the garden.
Ah, yes. Good morrow to you.
Oh, Zara, I've been meaning to show you my shield.
Yes, your shield, it's fabulous. I was wondering if it's the kind of thing where you can use to take cover action against it to gain a +4 to your armor class.
Well, actually, it's actually better than that, Zara. Listen,
I don't know that we need to discuss the mechanics right here.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll let it happen as it happens.
Yeah. We'll let that slide. but basically, yes.
Okay.
You both are looking rather robust, I must say.
Well rested.
Yes.
I see. Have you had a similar renaissance as I have? Suddenly growing much more powerful and skillful in a matter of days?
Yes, it's as if going on a short quest and then coming back to rest has reformed my constitution a bit.
My. And my dexterity, I dare say. What about you, Kardain? Your wisdom? Seeing new improvements?
Yeah, I mean, well, there was plenty of time on the trip there and back, and I spent a lot of time with Bron, because nobody really wants to talk with me late into the evening. Yeah, I've been practicing plant making.
Very good, very good. Well, as it happens, I have some news to share. I have good news and also perhaps other news.
Go on.
Might we go somewhere a bit more private?
Sure. You can't talk about it here?
Not with, and I nod toward the gardener, not with prying ears. Listening?
Perhaps we should go to the hedge maze.
Oh, yes, perfect.
Get ourselves lost in conversation, as it were.
I'm sure no one's lurking about in there. Mayhap we might retire to an unused chamber inside.
Yes, that would work as well.
Lead the way, my lady.
We go to the the study, perhaps.
Nice and padded with sound dampening with all the books and such.
Yeah, we'll go to the dungeon. That's nice and padded as well.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, the study's kind of your favorite spot in the house, right? So.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll make sure all the doors are closed. And if there are any secret doors, like in Downton Abbey, I make sure they're closed as well. And then I sit down and I let you all know that I've received a response from Lord Josco. And he has granted me permission to venture into the mountains.
Wonderful news.
Oh, wow, that's great. That's great news. Yeah, I talked with Dervin, and he's fine with me letting the groves I'm supposed to watch tend themselves for a week or so. How long do you think this is going to be?
That's a good question. There are complications, however.
A complication?
Yes.
Go on.
While I am very much interested in tracking down the path of this ley line's leakage, shall we say, I am also, unfortunately, torn. And so I must ask the both of you, how much do you like me?
Well,
Be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, Zara, I'll go first, okay?
Stoke laughs a little bit.
Listen, Verrol, from the moment you and I became battle brothers...
Battle acquaintances, just throwing that out there.
I'm more than Verrol. To you, we might just be battle acquaintances. But inside, I say... In my mind, at least. I don't say it out loud anymore because I know the word brother triggers you. Sorry, trigger warning. But in my mind, I say, there's my battle brother. When anytime we go into battle together. And, I'm hoping one day I'll be able to say it out loud.
Perhaps.
So that's my answer.
I see. And you, Lady Zara?
Well, you use the word like. I wonder what your definition of like is here. Is it more of a tolerate, a coexistence, if you will, or simply getting along with? Essentially, my definition of like is, would you, if given the chance, swear me your lifelong loyalty? The answer is no. I see. Well, then it appears my decision has been made. However, I would say that I do trust you as a companion in battle and someone who has proven himself worthy of my respect and trust. I see. And I give Stoke a sidelong glance, and since he was the one who kind of encouraged me a little bit.
Verrol, is there something we could do to just show you how we feel about you? I mean, I'm not the best with words.
How about a group hug?
Perhaps a blood pact to swear that nothing that's said in this room shall leave this room.
Well, no. Listen, in Dwarvish culture, the way you get to know somebody else is you sit down and you have a pint. why don't we hardly have meals together unless they're at the estate. If you really want to build some trust with me and the lady, you should take us out for a meal together. The four of us. No, the five of us.
I see. So it's my money. Is that what we're after?
No. I mean, I could pay for my own meal and drinks, Verrol. I'm making a gardener's wage now. I know I've needed money from you in the recent past. And I mean, Zara, I did just borrow your mule and your cart, but why don't we just go out for a meal? And maybe you'll trust us with this important secret better.
Perhaps I ought to frame the question differently. Do you feel enough of a kinship with me to lie for me?
Now that is an altogether different question. I've been known to stretch the truth a time or two.
Verrol, I mean, I would, but I'm not very good at it. But I would. I just want you to know my heart on this is I would.
I see. And if I might ask each of you again, what are your respective charisma scores?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I believe mine is a +0.
Yes.
And I must ask, is this would this lie be concerning something of great moral worth, such as perhaps concealing a murder, or is this just more like telling a white lie to distract someone?
The latter.
Okay.
For the sake of gaining information.
I just have one question. Is this going to get in the way of my grove tendering or the new gardener job I took? Because if it isn't, Verrol, you can tell me.
I dare say it will not.
Okay, then perfect.
However, if charisma is your dump stat, then perhaps you are not the right dwarf for the job.
Well, I mean, I have a lot of, I've learned a lot of things from Dervin, and I'm learning more every day how to talk to people. But it is my worst stat if we're talking if we're talking mechanics. It is Kardain's worst stat.
Okay. The simple gist of it is, you have said that you like me, and I simply wish for you to pretend that you do not.
I see. Wait, maybe I don't see. I should mention that I'm trained in deception.
That changes things somewhat.
So you want us to like you, but you don't want us to admit that we like you?
No, it's rather I would like you to behave as though you despise me.
Zara slaps Verrol.
No, not right now.
Will this do?
Not right now. No, I meant...
Oh, I apologize.
Perhaps I wasn't clear, and I rubbed my cheek.
Stoke just lets out a great guffawing laugh.
He can't hold it in. No, I meant under certain circumstances.
You must be more specific.
I'm not completely socially inept, Verrol. I've got some diplomacy skill. So if I'm dealing with someone reasonable, we can have a talk.
I see.
It just might not go that well.
That may yet come in handy. Well, and I give Stoke just one more glance and take a deep breath because I'm about to come out with it. I do not know whether I should be telling you this or not. I have debated it and turned it over in my mind more times than I can count. But I fear that I'm in need of friends I can trust. There is an individual who would see my family disgraced and dethroned. And he has come to Fossdale to garner support in the overthrow of my Lord Grandfather as High Lord of Chepforth. But in order to take action against him, we need proof that this is in fact his aim. I and my footmen are, of course, too well recognized to infiltrate the meetings that are being held.
Verrol, why would they want to overthrow your Lord Grandfather? He writes you all these nice letters. Surely he's a nice guy.
Oh, of course. He's a wonderful man. I look up to him and respect him more than anyone else in the world, but there are those who would see his rule brought to an end. Who knows what their reasons might be? The simple fact of the matter is, whether they are hungry for power or influence or money, they do not agree with his rule, and they would like to take it for their own.
So they just want Chepforth? Like what? I guess we don't know much, huh?
That is what I've been told. It seems, according to what I've now heard, that these rumors are true.
And how do you hope to obtain proof of these rumors?
Either first-hand accounts or something in writing that proves that there are machinations underway to carry out some coup or militaristic action, perhaps.
So it sounds like we're not going on the mountain trip.
Well, of course that remains to be seen, but yes, this new information has put a damper on that notion.
I mean, what's your plan? We gonna knock some heads, or are we gonna go a-sneaking?
What I was thinking was that the two of you, or one of you, might attend one of these meetings to glean some more information. You might say that you are an associate of mine, but that you despise me and you wish to see my family ruined.
Okay, that we're gonna betray you.
They might welcome your counsel as someone close to me, as one they might gain information from themselves.
I don't know, Verrol.
Neither do I, Master Dwarf, neither do I.
Yeah, would they really let, no offense, Zara, but would they really let you into these meetings? With all the connections you have?
Perhaps they would.
I believe that is precisely why they would let her.
I do have a bit of a reputation about town, but perhaps I could spin the angle that I am unhappy with the Van Jecht family ruling over these lands, that there's a bit of a rivalry there. I could wish to see him overthrown.
You could even bring a copy of the contract or a modified version of it to prove your dissatisfaction with our business arrangement. You could say that we are squeezing you out of your rightful profit and doing your father...
Doing him dirty, as it were.
Doing him a dirty, as they say.
Is there another option?
The other option would be for some of us to watch when he leaves and attempt to break into his headquarters and see if there is any evidence therein.
Maybe we do both.
Yes, but both at the same time? Which one first?
I'm even thinking there's a third thing. Zara, remember that time that you looked at the frog in the tree through your bird?
That is the most peculiar sentence you've said to me today, that I've heard in several days, actually. Yes, I do recall that.
Mr. Crowley.
Lady Zara is actually the best scout we've got.
Yes, Mr. Crowley is quite a good scout, isn't he?
I'm finding it hard to reconcile how one with such a low intelligence score could be so brilliant.
Oh, you don't mean that, Verrol.
I know, I truly do.
No, I really do.
I highly doubt it. Oh, well, shucks.
Your intelligence astounds me.
Well, I have a high wisdom, so sometimes that makes me seem like I'm smarter than I am.
Ah, yes. But you may be onto something. Mr. Crowley could very well be the spy we need.
What's the, Brian, what's the radius on how far you can share senses?
I believe it's a mile. No, that might be the empathy. Let me look that up.
Yeah, because this idea is much weaker depending on how far away Zara can be from Mr. Crowley.
Mistress Ebenvale, don't you have an ability that allows you to completely take leave of your senses and give them to Mr. Crowley?
It doesn't list a range. Just says once every 10 minutes, you can use the action to project your senses into your familiar. Lasts up to a minute.
Yeah, you can't... It makes sense that you wouldn't be able to leave your body for, huge amounts of time. So it's a 10-minute cooldown, and it lasts a minute?
Mm-hmm.
So you could scout a bunch with that, and... Well, you haven't told us that information yet, right, Verrol? But if we knew what buildings to watch, we could maybe plant Zara safely nearby, or maybe even in another building.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my other question is, Zara, how well known is Mr. Crowley?
Not very well, I should think. He's just a bird after all. There are plenty of birds in this region.
I mean, how long have you had him as a pet? Would people recognize him? You probably should take the jewelry off him.
Yes, that's true.
Yes, the little pink bow in his hair could be a dead giveaway, I dare say.
And the scroll of pedigree hanging from his talons. Yes, I'll remove all that first.
Yeah, we need to make him look like a normal, not magical crow.
I will unpart his hair as well. I'll take out
just
the
has
middle part that he
the
has.
center part, yeah.
His feathers.
I mean, I could help you make him look like a normal crow. He smells too good to be an actual...
That's true. Very true.
Sorry, he's a raven.
Yes. We'll do our best to make him seem inconspicuous.
Yeah, I think some scouting could be a good first step. Because, do you know where they're meeting?
I have witnessed a meeting place. I do not know whether they move from building to building or if they meet in the same place. I would not doubt they have some randomization at play, but I will mark the location of that building on your map.
It sounds like we're getting a plan together, Verrol.
It certainly does.
I'm really glad that you trust us.
Well, it's taken everything I've got to do so.
And Kardain strides forward and gives you a Battle Brother handshake, or goes for one. Do you accept?
As long as you don't say out loud that it is a Battle Brother handshake.
Oh, I just want us to shake on it, Verrol. It's not going to be a Battle Brother handshake, but
I'll give
in
you,
Kardain's mind,
yeah, if it's a Battle Brother handshake in your mind, totally cool. But if you utter the words, I will withdraw my support of this action.
Yeah, it's a nice firm handshake between friends.
It's between battle acquaintances. That's right. So, what say you, Lady Zara? Would you prefer to go in hot yourself or send in your crow? I'm sorry, your raven.
Yes, I think perhaps a good plan would be for me to be some distance off that I can see the building where this person might be. That way, when it's time, I can switch into Mr. Crowley's senses. That way it's not because of the cooldown time, as it were. I won't miss an opportunity.
If we can assume that they do move from location to location, it will be difficult to pinpoint without following them. It's too bad we don't have some sort of medieval walkie-talkies by which to communicate.
If only I had learned the message cantrip.
Perhaps we could teach Mr. Crowley a rudimentary set of signals.
Is Mr. Crowley here, by the way?
Yeah, he's pretty much always with me.
Okay, so when you say that perhaps you could teach him a rudimentary set of symbols, he says, or you could just have me talk, you know.
Oh, Mr. Crowley.
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Crowley.
That's true, I could.
You speak?
Only on occasions.
Yes, I did not realize that was something that you could undertake regularly. But wow, since you are with us now, what would you think about being the alarm system for this operation?
If I must. I'm bound to do whatever my master wants me to do.
All the better for us.
Well, at least it's the best for someone.
So, Zara, you know how you sometimes feel what Mr. Crowley feels?
Yes, I do.
I feel the same way, but with Bron. So, Verrol, you were saying we need some way to communicate. If I split with Bron, I might be able to know if something's up, if he was worried or feeling anxious, and that might be able to tip us off.
Yes, true.
Just saying, we could work with that.
I pull out my map of the town and lay it out on the table. We begin to plan. Starting at the old watermill, we chart possible routes and courses into town, locations or buildings where meetings might be held, map out some potential places to plant Bron, and have Mr. Crowley be following through the trees and alerting us to the building. We could just have Mr. Crowley kind of fly haphazardly around or stay up in the trees quietly and follow his path, and then once he gets to the building, we could just have Mr. Crowley perch on top of the building so we know which one they're in. But the real use for Mr. Crowley is if we're going to break into the watermill while he's gone, he can be like the lookout and let us know when he's returning.
Yeah, and I should also note that Share Senses allows me to project all of my senses into my familiar so that I can even listen in on conversations.
Right.
So that could be very useful.
Perhaps he could go down the chimney because he'll be disguised by the soot.
Yeah.
Now, Shabe, you are the gadgetry expert. Is there anything that I can get as a mundane item that will help me pick a lock more easily?
Oh, I'm sure there is. You want me to try to find it?
There are improved lockpicks.
That would help.
You know, something else is coming to mind. For Bron, it might be relevant for me to reteach, or for him to choose, for me to choose for him. That's how it works. Familiars. Turning into a plant. Wait, when you turn into a plant, do you have any sort of sensory information? Because I've heard people mention that you can use those kinds of spells like turn to stone or turn into a plant for scouting purposes, but maybe not. Do you lose all senses?
That would be good to know.
Well, I assume he would probably retain some senses.
Right, because he is a plant. He can become a plant for 8 hours, which is great.
If he has any sort of sensory input or even emotional input.
While in this form, you can observe everything around you using your normal senses.
You can, but what about him?
No. He. If I took the familiar ability, he has turned into a plant. It's essentially a copycat of the one with plants spell, which I don't know yet. It's a level 2 primal spell, but I can take it as a familiar ability for Bron since he's specifically a plant familiar. So, like, we could use Mr. Crowley to scout one building, and then we could plant Bron at the other building.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Literally.
Yeah. To make that the building that makes sense to have plants around it.
Totally.
So I think this plan's coming together. We could literally use both of our familiars to like see if there's any patterns with when they move.
Yeah, so we plant Bron outside the watermill and then have Mr. Crowley be mobile, following him, and then giving us the signal as to which building he goes in by being on the roof and or listening in if there's an available spot to do that from.
Yeah, we can literally be in 5 places at once.
Except for you. You're in Mr. Crowley's place.
That's true.
So we'll have to have Stoke make sure you're okay while you're in a coma. Mm-hmm. And awaken you with true love's kiss.
I'd be glad to watch over your sleeping face. Sorry.
Perhaps someone else can do this job.
On my honor, I swear I would lay no finger upon you.
So, yeah, that'll be the only downside is that I can't use Mr. Crowley and infiltrate the meeting at the same time.
Yeah. So perhaps breaking into the watermill is the less risky play for starters. So we do Operation A that way. And then, depending on the results of that, we then go for Operation B, where it's you going in and saying, like, I hate the Vanjects. Here's the crummy contract that he forced my father into signing.
Yeah, I think A is less risky and a higher likelihood of getting like physical evidence too, you know.
Right. And we can get you the improved lockpicks if we can afford it.
Yeah.
Where would we even buy something like that though around here? I feel like that's pretty sketchy merchandise.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd find it in town. Also, lockpicks that give you a +1 cost 50 gold.
Oh, wow.
Yikes.
Just for a +1?
Wow.
I mean, if I'm there with you, Verrol, I could give you guidance on 1 check.
Okay, that's true.
I don't think there's a spell that we have access to. Yeah, knock is rank 2.
One thing we could also do is, instead of just going in on that first night, we could wait for him to leave and then do, like, while he's gone, do, like, a full investigation of the mill house and kind of get the layout and then see if there are any potential weaknesses we could exploit in terms of breaking in.
Verrol, tell me more about the mill house.
Yeah, so it looks like this, and I begin to sketch out what the description that the DM gives of what the building looks like.
Does it have a basement?
It looks like there's a cellar underneath the mill. Remember, it's the mill part of the building, and then there's the house part of the building that's attached to it, but it's separate. So the house has some people living and working there. They, move over to the mill during the day, work, go back to the house. It's just a small, barely 2-story house. The mill is relatively straightforward, just full of all the machinery, the grinding wheel, and all that stuff. Sacks of flour.
Well, I'm thinking of a weird backdoor kind of method here. I mean, it depends on the foundation of the building, but these are older buildings. I wonder if we could do something weird like equip Bron with some combination of burrower, manual dexterity, and see if I could get him into the building. That's a pretty complicated order, though, to give to a familiar to, like, all right, burrow in there and then open the door.
Yeah, right.
Unlock the door.
Yeah.
It's totally... I think it's worth a shot. I'm just looking at the familiar abilities right now, Brian, and just trying to think what could work. You know what's funny? Technically, Mr. Crowley could take those too, right?
Yeah, he could.
Burrower. And it just doesn't necessarily make sense with his physique. I feel like of the two of them, Bron makes more sense to be a burrower, perhaps.
He just turns his beak into a drill.
I mean, what do we have to lose? I think we try... Well, we lose time. We can't reconfigure.
Yeah, tell you what, but before we even do that, we can have Mr. Crowley scout out the building ahead of time. He can even fly up and perch on a window and sit there and look inside, pretending to be a raven. And that way we might get a little bit of extra information before we attempt anything more intense.
Yeah, that's safer since there are people living in the house part. How far away is the mill house from the house itself?
I think you said they're attached.
Yeah, they're attached.
Oh, okay.
It's like the house was built onto the side of the mill part.
Oh, okay. Right on.
And also, it's the house side is where you saw him coming out at night.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So it doesn't look like there's a separate exit from the loft part above the mill itself?
It looks like the loft is probably in the house rather than in the mill. Like, there might be an upper level in the mill, too, just for storage and stuff. But he would have been staying in the loft at the house.
Okay. So then we are fairly certain that there are other people besides him living there. Or do we know that? Is that something we need to get Mr. Crowley to find out?
Yeah, I think Zara would probably be aware of the Millers living there.
Meet the Millers.
I would at least know that there's, like, if there's a family, that there's more than one person, essentially. How urgent is this whole quest? Are we talking like a day? We might have a week. We don't know.
He is building support for his cause.
That's right. So that might take a little bit of time.
Yeah, we don't know how quickly that can or will happen. It kind of depends on the sentiment of the people, which is another reason why I was sent here to, like, be a representative.
I see.
To hopefully slow the turning of that tide.
Do some schmoozing, kiss some babies.
Yes.
Well, so if that's the case, if he has to rally all these people, that's not going to happen literally overnight. Let's start with that. We'll rest tonight, and tomorrow, even during the day, Mr. Crowley can go kind of scope things out, get a little bit of basic information, and then we'll finish the plan from there.
That sounds good.
All right, so we rest for the night and pick some new familiar abilities and prepare to scout out this watermill.
Okay.
And then we scout out this watermill.
Yeah, and then we go do that thing that we prepared to do.
Isn't that, I think it's Spaceballs, where he's like, prepare to go to warp speed. And he's like, preparing to go to warp speed. Go to warp speed. Going to warp speed.
Yeah.
So, your exact actions on the day of...
What is your range on Mr. Crowley when you're warging into him?
For sheer senses, does not list a range.
Yeah, which makes it so good, potentially.
Yeah. So you are at home lying in your bed, in your room.
Yep, exactly. I'm actually on vacation.
It's a mile, right?
Do you have to be able to see him or anything to use familiar abilities?
No, because she can't see or have any senses at all while she's using this ability.
Does shared senses target, I think is what you're asking, Thane, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Does it target?
The ability itself doesn't say anything about that.
Yeah, if it doesn't mention that it has a target, then I guess it's just assumed that you're warging into your familiar.
Yeah.
That you don't necessarily have to see.
Once every 10 minutes, you can project your senses into your familiar. When you do, you lose all sensory information, but you can sense through your familiar's body for up to 1 minute. You can dismiss this effect. That's all it says.
Yeah. It's a very important familiar ability for scouting. Mm-hmm. And I think they wanted it to be powerful because that's one of the most powerful things I feel like familiars can do, is to be like a scout that, like, you don't... Well, okay, we care if Bron dies, but we don't really care so much if Mr. Crowley dies as a scout, which I think makes them invaluable scouts.
So what I'll actually do is post up semi-nearby the watermill, but off in the distance, somewhere I can see the building, again, off from a distance, near another building or something like that, and then basically just keep an eye on it, and that way I can see Mr. Crowley, just so I can keep an eye on him, basically. And then every 10 minutes, I'll switch into his senses and have him just kind of fly around the house, perch on different windows, look inside. And the other ability I gave him, by the way, is dark vision. I decided to go with your advice there, Shabe.
Nice.
Yeah, I was kind of grasping at straws for Bron as well. I ended up just going burrow, and then the one with plants thing. Plant form.
Cool.
So I couldn't think of another ability for him that was relevant. I guess it'll be a problem if I plant him and then it's like nighttime and he can't see.
Yeah.
But I didn't think about that. I just thought that. I just didn't want him to get found out. I wanted him to be able to bury after his form ends. Did we already plant him this morning?
No, I don't think we've planted him yet.
What if I had him, what if I got as close as Zara is and then had Bron slowly burrow his way to the mill and then just, spring up into his tree form?
I mean, yeah, we'll potentially need to plant him there at some point. But for now, we're just...
Oh, yeah. We're starting with Mr. Crowley. That's right.
Just reconnaissance, yeah, for now.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, let's start there. But I'm ready. Kardain really wants Bron to contribute.
All right, so you two are together, standing around some of the houses by the docks, a little ways upstream. So Mr. Crowley flies over, and you can see through him. He's got his eyes on the house. Let's say it's relatively early in the morning right now, and so it looks like there's a family inside making breakfast. You can see mother and father, an older boy and a young small child. The house's floor plan is pretty open on the lower level, so you can see most of it from just the one front window. There is a staircase leading up to some sort of attic or loft area, and presumably to where all of the beds would be, because you don't see any down here. The curtains are open on the ground floor, but they're all closed for the upper level.
Okay.
Of course they are.
All right, you said there are 4 family members?
Yep.
How good of an actor is Mr. Crowley? What if he did what, it happens all the time. It's tragic. It's sad, but, birds fly into windows. Mm-hmm. What if he just, flew into a window and then they were like, oh no, and, brought him inside.
Crashed through it.
Nurse him back to health.
Yeah.
Does he see, a staircase down? Does it seem like... Is it apparent whether there's a basement?
You didn't notice any cellar doors or anything.
Okay, and as far as entrances and exits, just the one? Or is there a back door too? Or is there an entrance or exit to the mill part of it?
It has the front door, and there is a side door that leads into the mill directly.
Can he get a sense for how and where the mill is connected to the house?
The mill part has a front door, the house has a front door, and then there is a door in between that connects the two.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
All right, gotcha.
Can Mr. Crowley try to look inside the mill itself and see what he finds out there?
Yeah, the mill doesn't have any curtains. Well, it has shutters, actually. So some of those are closed, some are open. But looking around inside, it houses a series of gears, bins, chutes, and other devices, along with barrels and sacks of product. There is an upper level, but it's just full of crates and barrels and things.
Supplies.
All right.
Okay.
At this point, you would notice that looks like it's old Warden technology or Warden era, because while you can see some of the machinery, it looks more complicated than what people currently have the knowledge how to build.
Okay. So I report that to the other guys and have Mr. Crowley fly back to me.
Zara, what'd you see?
I saw exactly what you just heard from the DM.
Wow. You saw a lot of stuff with Mr. Crowley in only 60 seconds.
Yes, indeed, I did.
He's a good seer, that Mr. Crowley.
Yes.
Well, that might have been 2 uses of that, scout the house and then scout the mill and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I figured he would just do repeat flies until we knew what we wanted to know.
Yeah, flybys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, Verrol, what do you say? What's the next step here?
Well, the family living there certainly complicates things. But I wonder whether they are loyal to him or whether they are simply treating him as a boarder, a visitor. Whether they know who he is and what he's doing, or if it's merely a happenstance that he's staying with them. If he is staying in the same upper rooms as the family, then breaking in may be a bit more complex than I had originally imagined. It may be that infiltrating the meeting itself is the easier course.
Yes, that's what I'm afraid of as well. Unless there was some way to lure the whole family out of the house. Perhaps we should write a pretend letter from their grandmother saying that they're sick and on their deathbed. That's about the only solution I can think of.
That could work.
I still think having Mr. Crowley run into the window was a good idea.
Well, the problem is, if he's pretending to be almost dead, he can't exactly be going around picking up scraps of paper and searching in cabinets and whatnot, so...
Perhaps we could wait until the night of the Harvest Festival. Surely everyone in town will be there.
It's currently early spring.
Yes, perhaps we could wait until the new moon festival to bring in the dawn of summer, the start of summer.
So, this plan is risky because it would involve Zara or presumably me, right, Verrol?
Investigating his quarters is now risky because the family is there. Infiltrating the meeting is risky because we do not know what their reaction will be.
Right, but what if we sent somebody that's not Zara or myself or Arath or you or Stoke?
Or Bron or Mr. Crowley?
Well, what about Master's form, Brian?
That's true. We could have a nondescript person.
I think we need to explore Master's form. It's technically both Bron and Mr. Crowley could theoretically take Master's form. And they could both theoretically learn or take speech.
I'm just picturing like Mars Attacks. You ever see that old movie?
Oh,
where,
yeah.
like, the aliens have, like, the human skin on, and they're all, like, plastic-looking and, like, dead eyes, and they just look super, like, fake, but they're posing as humans.
Well, it's an illusion, basically.
Bron can't take Master's form because you don't have enough abilities. You must have manual dexterity and speech, and then you can also get Master's form on top.
But Mr. Crowley could.
Well, no, because one of my abilities has to be flyer.
Oh, no, we
So
can't.
I can't either.
We can't do it?
But that's okay.
If only our listeners could see how happy Thane is that we can't do it. But it's so cool.
That does sound cool.
But, so Zara could still go, though.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think Zara's maybe our best bet.
I truly believe that Zara's lineage and standing in the town is an advantage rather than a disadvantage.
Well, Mr. Crowley's always with you. Like, if we're going to try to get you in there, wouldn't we want to take abilities on Mr. Crowley? Like, isn't he going to go with you?
Potentially. He might.
He goes with you everywhere.
Yeah.
You could take the thing that makes you better at social checks with his help.
Oh, that's right. There's accompanist, makes you better at the performance check. Ambassador, aid on diplomacy or make an impression. There we go.
Yep. Yeah, ambassador could work. There's also, if you need to lie, which it sounds like you need to lie, right? At some point.
Yep.
If you need to lie, you could take partner. Actually, you could just take both. Mr. Crowley has 3 abilities. You could literally make him your partner in crime and your ambassador.
Mm-hmm. That would work.
We could also figure out wording that would prevent you from... Well, it would make it so that you would be lying as seldom as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could be like, my family just went into business with the Vanjeks. This contract is a disgrace. And, like, that's all true. And the contract that you have is not the real contract.
That's true.
And you're using it as evidence.
It's all technicalities. It's still being deceptive.
Yeah.
True.
So if he's going to have to lie, why not have an automatic successful aid on those lies?
Yep.
Yep, definitely.
I feel like that's definitely worth it. But I'm liking. I didn't think ambassador was worth it, but maybe it is if you get to do a little bit of diplomacy.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna send in the daughter.
Yeah. Is this something you feel you would be able to do and would be comfortable doing, Lady Zara?
Master Verrol, if it would mean protecting both your family's interests and my own, then I would be more than happy to attempt this task.
Very well. It seems this may be our best option.
Yes. Put me in, coach, as the kids say.
So, do you have an in? Anyone that you can talk to get into this group?
That's a great question.
Is that part of the plan?
I just show up unannounced. Should be fine.
Yeah, we might need to do some more scouting, but of the rumor type, like around town.
Recon.
Yeah.
Gather information.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which I could help with. I could make Bron into a snoop.
I was thinking that if we couldn't get that information, you would go in saying, yes, I heard, basically I heard the rumor that you were in town, and I didn't want to say who told me because I didn't want to get them in trouble with the resistance or whatever, with the movement, because everybody's supposed to be tight-lipped about it. And just say, obviously I know what's going on because you're coming in knowing what's happening, or at least presuming what's happening. And that way you're kind of covered from that aspect of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if we even just spent like one or so adventuring days trying to hear rumors and snoop around using all the different tools we have at our disposal, like you're a good snooper, both of our familiars could be equipped with snooping technology, and we could find out how they're recruiting people for the resistance.
Yeah.
Spy planes.
We could do it the way that you're saying, Jay. I think that's a good plan B. But like, since we have time, why not try to figure out like where do new recruits meet? Like, what's the process?
Yeah.
And then just go through the normal, instead of making our own channel, why don't we just go through the normal channels for Zara?
Yeah.
Because this isn't the type of thing where you're going to necessarily turn people away. I mean, he wants all the support and public interest that he can get.
Yeah, but without getting exposed. And like, I feel like we're suspicious if we get into their club any way that's atypical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
That's a very good point.
Like, why not just learn the normal path to get into the club?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. True.
And so, remind me, when I'm in there, I'm not trying to like get in and then suddenly dissuade everyone from this plan. I'm just trying to...
No.
Am I trying to like get names, or what's the plan?
You're trying to get proof that what I think is happening is actually happening.
Okay.
That he is trying to assemble a group to get together to overthrow the Vanjects. You're trying to just confirm my suspicions.
Gotcha. And proof doesn't have to be like legal document, or proof in court, like a knife with the fingerprints of the murderer on it. We're just talking like we're just confirming more than proof.
If you tell me that you are certain that this is what's happening through your eyewitness account, then I will vouch for you to my grandfather so that he feels justified in taking action.
Got it. Okay.
But names couldn't hurt.
Yeah, learn a few names. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. True.
So that your grandfather can squash this meaningless rebellion.
Yes.
I'm excited for how this is going to shape up. Like, and like the fact that like what familiar abilities Brian picks could be really relevant to how well this goes or not. I just realized for those familiar abilities that involve giving reactions to them, they have to know the skill.
Oh, okay.
It's not nearly as good as I was making it sound. So, like, if you want Mr. Crowley to be an ambassador, he would need diplomacy. If you want him to help you deceive, like, be successful on any lies you have to engage in, I think he would also need deception in addition to partner in crime.
I see.
So they're good, but I think it's 2 points, right, Thane?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, if, for example, if I wanted to help gather information, like, I'd have to take Snoop and diplomacy on Bron any days that we're out and about talking to people.
Okay.
That would be all of his abilities. But,
Gotcha.
I mean, if we're not trying to engage, if we're not openly looking to get into a fight, it's totally fine for us to pick these more utilitarian abilities.
I mean, it doesn't say that it has skilled as a prerequisite or anything.
Really? I thought that they did. I remember having some discussions with you about these abilities at some point, Thane, because I was saying, why don't I just take this? Why don't I just take this? And then I think, is that not true?
I'm not reading anything about that either.
It'd be great if you don't need the skill on the familiar. Am I thinking of something different, maybe?
Maybe. In fact, it says, despite being a minion, your familiar gains one reaction at the start of its turns, which it can use to aid you on a diplomacy check to gather information. That's about it.
I don't remember for sure, but I'm not seeing that here.
So, in essence, we are going tavern hopping, I imagine.
Yeah, we're going to gather some info.
That's right.
It's like Kardain's getting his wish after all.
Yeah, this is exactly what I wanted, is we'd have some, have a pint together.
Some bonding time. Right. Very well, let's set about making the rounds, shall we?
We shall.
Very good.